I've decided today I'm going to do the first oil change on the new Camaro. It's the V6 LFX engine, 3.6 liter, and I'll be putting Pennzoil Ultra. I got a good deal on it. Paid I think $40 for that and the filter. Well, it's usually the deals are just with the 5, so I had to buy another one. I know some of you out there will probably like my hillbilly car jack or ramp or whatever you want to call it. Since I don't really have to be under the car much and I have such a low profile oil funnel and catch combo thing, so I don't really need to be that high off the ground. And the oil filter's right here. It's a cartridge style. AC Delco PF 2129F. Kind of like these because they're actually not as messy. You don't got to be crawling around under the car dealing with them. So it's going to be interesting. It's my first time changing the oil in this. And the drain plug is obviously on the passenger side of the engine. That's why I have it raised on the driver's side. Now what I'm doing with this is really only probably going to work well with a rear-wheel drive car. If you have front-wheel drive, it's probably going to be kind of tricky. And of course, whenever you're jacking up the car using ramps or anything, use some kind of chalk. I just use firewood. We got a ton of it, and it works fine. And have your parking brake or hand brake up, and if it's a manual, make sure you have it in reverse or first so it doesn't move. It's only got 2,453 miles, but I still just want to do it right now anyways, especially if it's a brand new car. It won't hurt anything, that's for sure. This has an oil life monitor. Let's just see where we're at on that. 61%. So I could probably go about 6,000 miles. I find the best thing to use if you still have someone you know who still has newspaper. That's the best thing to use, a couple layers thick. It's easy to clean up and get rid of. This car uses a 15mm hex to take out the drain plug. And it's right over there. It's kind of hard to see that little triangle bump. It's actually pointing the other way, but that's where it is, facing the passenger side. When it comes to the drain plug, there's a few things you want to be aware of. If it has a rubber seal like this one does, it should last indefinitely as long as you clean it while you're doing your oil change. Like, you want to make sure there's no grit in the threads. You want to make sure there's no grit or anything on this, and you want to wipe that off and then rub a little new oil on it before you torque it back on the oil pan. And that's one thing too, you don't want to over tighten it. It just needs to be good and snug. You don't need to torque it on there because you could damage the threads. So that's one thing to watch out for. Now, to get to that easier, I'm going to take this engine cover off, which is pretty easy to do. Just lifts right off. So that way, it'll be easier to deal with that in a little bit. The hex on the oil filter, it's right around an inch, but it's actually metric. The only thing I have that actually fits is this 31/32 socket thing. Usually it's like a lawnmower spark plug remover style thing. I forgot what it's actually called, but that fits pretty well. So I'm going to use that to take it off. Now here's the filter and cap off the car upside down. What I like about these is they're metal ended. A lot of those ones that screw on underneath the car, they actually are made out of, they have cardboard ends on the filters, and there's no way of really knowing because they're sealed in a little can. What I like about this is you can examine the pleats on it to see if there's any metal or any other problems going on with the engine. And it's sturdy because, like I said, there's those metal ends on it, and you know that when you put it in. And you can examine it. That's what's so nice about them. And they're less messy. They don't drip oil all over the place when you're trying to unscrew them. Now this one, the one I got, I didn't get the O-ring this time. I didn't notice it, that it didn't come with it, but the car only has 2,000 miles on it, so those are going to be, that O-ring should be fine. Now I'm going to clean this up too and put a little new oil on that O-ring. What I also did on the new filter is pour a little bit of oil over the outside of all the folds. Not too much, just enough where it would soak it up. And I smeared it all on the seal. Now with a can style filter that you screw on the car, you should also fill that at least halfway with oil, depending on what angle you're going to end up having to screw it on with, because you want the pleats in it to be saturated with oil. It helps the oil get circulating faster when you restart the car. Okay, and also with the oil filter or oil filter cap, just put it down good and snug. You don't want to over tighten that either. You could have issues too, like especially the screw-on type that go under the car. You're going to have a problem taking it off down the road. Once you have that, your cap or oil filter screwed on, recheck your drain plug, and you're set to fill the oil up. Make sure you use the right kind and the right quantity. A lot of times your oil filter will say what you need right on it, and always use something that is SAE approved. Now any oil you use, you want to make sure it has this logo on it, the API service seal. Right now it's 2013, so we're on SN, so you want to have the current rating in when you're putting it in your car. If it doesn't have this logo on it, you don't want to use it. Now usually when I'm filling, I usually put half a quart less than what the car manual specs for the capacity, because a lot of times there's still some oil that doesn't quite make it out of the car. Usually a little bit over the fill mark is not going to do anything, but if you have a lot, it's actually could be just as bad as running low on oil, because it actually will get air bubbles in it, because the bottom of the crankshaft will hit the oil level and make it like a froth, which is not good for especially newer engines with variable valve timing, because they use the oil pressure, they send it through to change how your valves work and stuff, and that can get all messed up if there's air in your oil from overfilled oil level. Okay, then after you fill almost all the oil that the manual specs you should put in it, you want to check everything over again. Just go through a checklist in your head, make sure you tightened your drain plug, make sure your filter's on good, make sure you added the oil and stuff, and then go ahead and start the car for about 30 seconds, then turn it off. When you do that, you want to have your car still up on the jacks. You want to start it while it's on there, just in case you got to do something. Take a look under the car, make sure nothing's leaking or anything like that. So you could have some issues if it is. So it's always good to leave the car up when you initially start it. Everything seems like it's working. Try to take the car on a flat level surface and then take out the dipstick, wipe it off, then put it back in. Now the car, of course, you want to have off for at least 30 seconds before you do that. And then you want to have it usually before the last dot. And this one it's hard to see, but it's almost at the last dot, which is good. That's where it's supposed to be. But just remember, you want the car off for at least about 30 seconds to a minute before you even want to take it out, wipe it, and put it back in to get your accurate level. You want to write down the miles when you did your oil change, so you remember write the miles and date. And then if you have an oil life monitor or oil life warning light, you need to look in your owner's manual on how to reset it if you do the oil change yourself. If you get it done at the dealer or one of the other places, a lot of times I think they'll reset it, but I don't know for sure. But check on your owner's manual or look online for your model of car. Mine, it's real easy to do. Be sure that you want to reset. I just pick yes and 100%. And that's all you got to do, then you're ready to go. Now with your used oil, remember to dispose of it properly. Take it to usually an auto auto store will collect it for you for free, or you may have a recycling center. And also with your oil filters, sometimes there's some places like a recycling center that will take that also. And your empty oil bottles, some cities will take those in their recycling if you have a recycling program where you live.